Hey, it's Pascal. How you doing?
Hey, Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you, girl. It's good to hear you. That's for sure.
Yeah, give me a second.
There you go. Hey,
Hi,
how you doing?
I'm good. Good. It's a bit cold here over Germany
Ah,
now, but yeah.
please forgive me if I forgot that we just met a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever. But we've met before, yes or no?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I think you were on the
latest
last.
time
Yeah,
in the last meeting you
yeah. You were. I
organized.
remember now. I remember now.
Okay, yeah.
But please remember me. What was your were you SSP 22 or what was your program?
18
18.
in
Okay.
Delft. I think you gave us those 3D printed
Okay.
diagram.
And hey, there's
Um,
Juan. Wow. This is
Greetings.
good morning or good afternoon.
Oh, hi, Pascal. Are you Pascal?
Hi, good to see you. Yeah.
Yes,
Hey Juan, how you doing?
fine.
I can't get used to this evil Juan look with the beard, right? You know,
Yes,
it's your
yes.
evil twin.
Well, maybe you will grow a beard somewhere, sometime.
I I did that once, but yeah, I haven't had a beard for a long time. So, okay, so we could get started. These are pretty informal discussions. They are being recorded. Supposedly, they're intended to be uploaded to the ISU YouTube channel. And we haven't succeeded in getting that done yet, but maybe we will in the future. So, you know, I keep up. Takes time. Sometimes you got to push, you just got to nudge gently from time to time. And Paul was on the last call, and Juan, as you know, I started my gig as a VP for North American operations in September. So this is the second one of these Alumni Day calls that we're doing, and limited success, I would say. I'd say the first Alumni Day call was pretty good. Call one was sparsely attended. Call two and call three were, I don't know, 8 or 9 people on, on that order, half a dozen to a dozen people. But we had 90 people register, which was really interesting.
Okay.
I mean, it's, if nothing else, it gives me an email list to blast things out to, and that's the list I blasted things out to. In addition to posting this on LinkedIn, it was supposed to be advertised in the ISU newsletter, which of course hasn't come out yet. It was supposed to come out a couple of weeks ago, and then actually Pascal said, "Oh, you want to include such and such in it," and so we're still waiting for such and such, that information to come through so they can release the newsletter. So maybe we'll get better coordinated with the newsletter schedule, in the future. And part of that could be me planning the future date of this event, a little bit sooner than I did. So we're working on that. But other than that, we had one person on this morning, and so that was good. But the Asian time, what I consider my first call at 7 a.m. my time is intended to correspond with early evening, early to later evening in, China, that part of the world right there, that slice. And I'm going down to Australia, but it turns out it was like 11:30 at night in Australia. It was like way too late at night in Australia. So I'd have to go earlier, but it's 7 a.m. my time, and I'm not about to totally get up way too early.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's hard to find a good time at that point.
Oh, I see we have a new person in the chat now. Suchesna.
Let's see if she comes on, he or she. There she goes. Hey.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, I'm Ken. What program were you part of?
SSP 21.
21. Okay. That was the online one, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I'm coming up with I'm big time into these like banners that are 20 about inches, 23 and a half inches, almost 2 feet wide, and like 6 feet tall, well, 5 feet tall, 60 inches tall. And they roll them up. They're really light. You can take them on an airplane pretty easily. And when you go into a conference and stuff, versus, these big poster boards that are huge, that number one, cost a lot of money. And number two, they're impossible to transport with, right? And, typically, so when we were doing our research papers, our research posters, we went to these panels, these banners, that were kind of easy to work with. And they're only like $40. They're really cheap at esigns.com, at least here in the States. So I'm making one. I'm going to a conference in a couple of weeks. So I'm making one for ISU history, right? So it shows 35 years of timeline going from 1987 at the bottom, working its way up. And it shows all the different SSP sites and stuff. And it shows when MSS started. It shows the first executive course. It shows the first SHSSP, shows some other major milestones. So, and then at the top, there's a beautiful picture, of course, of the campus, central campus. And it's got a QR code in there that actually I created a QR code for a landing page, an ISU landing page, so that a link page. So you go there and it's like, here's where you click for the library. Here's where you click for the program description. Here's where you click for this. Here's where you click. And we can update it to tie to current programs. And I haven't done that yet, but the QR code, boom, will stay the same no matter what's on the link page. So that's something that I'm going to be testing out here pretty soon. I'm big time into QR codes.
Okay.
So anyway, that's how I knew it was online in 21.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because currently I'm making a poster myself of we have been selected for the HRP IWS conference at NASA in Galveston, Houston. So I'm doing that myself. In 10 days, I'll be presenting there about my company and our work there. So yeah.
Where are you located, Suchesna?
Houston.
Oh, you're in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Oh, and I see we have Justin Park on. Justin is there he is. He's one of the movers and shakers of the ISU USA Alumni Organization. So it's good to have him on there. Looks like he's like in bed, having breakfast in bed or something, but I know it's a coffee table.
Yeah, well, I'm at my coffee table, I guess, in my living room.
Hello, Justin.
How's it going?
Hi, good to see you.
I mean, does everybody
Yeah,
know
likewise.
Juan? Everybody knows Juan, right? Everybody
Yeah,
knows.
I've met Juan before. I think once on a video conference. We've never met in person, I don't think.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us, Justin. Yeah, we got like I said, I was telling Juan, just because it's the first time he's on, and I think Suchesna, this is your first time. Oh, another person. Aaron. Oh, Aaron was on last time too. Yeah, there's just informal discussion. I'll have like 2 or 3 comments. Maybe then we'll give the floor over to Juan, let him say some things as past president. We can let him, shed some wisdom on us, because I have very little wisdom to share, but Juan has much more, just by merit of the fact that he's got a beard, and, he's showing his, he looks wiser than I do. And hi, Aaron, how you doing? Aaron's there. Cool.
Yeah.
So so let me just start by saying that in the newsletter, when it does come out, you're going to see a little section in there called Ask the Alumni. So one of the problems we have, any organization has, especially nonprofit organizations has, is getting support in a bunch of different ways, not just money, but other types of support. And one of the number one mistakes that nonprofits make is they don't ask, right? So, I figured, why not put a little column, a couple lines in the newsletter called Ask the Alumni, where we do make asks. And SSP or ISU Strasbourg put in an ask, sent out a call for support, monetary support for the TPs going on. So I added that in there. But also I put a little blurb in there about the Zoom call, this call. And so since the newsletter hasn't come out, I'm gonna have to edit that out. But the third thing I asked for, and this is kind of an idea that my wife Gretchen came up with, was, what if we asked the alumni to just take their phones, put it in landscape mode, and just take a video of yourself, 15 to 30 seconds max. Hi, my basic script. Hi, my name is Ken. I work at ISU. I attended ISU's summer program in 1989. And the major benefits, this is the whole point of the video, the major benefits I got from ISU were inclusion in a huge, major, great network of global space leaders around the world that's just grown over time, whatever the major benefits are. And in fact, there's a lot of things you could talk about, not just what the major benefits to ISU would be, but this could become part of a series where you go through the same intro introduction, but then you start saying, and I work for, let's say I work for NASA Houston or NASA Johnson, and the major benefit to my employer of my ISU education is this, so start talking about what kind of benefits is it provided to your employer. And so we can start getting different perspectives of the ISU experience from different alumni that either we could use in promotional material or would just give us ideas that we could write down and use. And so that kind of thing. So the ask in this upcoming newsletter is going to be asking folks to send us videos. Again, very, very short. So the file size shouldn't be large. Landscape mode, hopefully, because then it'll be easy to put into a 16:9 kind of format. It will be. And then we can use it over and over again as needed. We do have some testimonials that are professionally produced by ISU, which cost a lot of money. But hey, if we can get some stuff that's very usable from the alumni, it's an easy way for alumni to contribute. And by the way, this is kind of like the secret. These are sort of like audition videos too. Because let's say we get somebody that comes along and it's super well done and they present super well and it's like, holy cow, let's get that person in front of a camera kind of thing, So then we, could even start pursuing some of these promotional ideas a little bit further. So it's in some ways we'll get a nice cross section of the demographics as well as the messaging and all that sort of stuff. So what do you think of that? How about that?
Let me try. Go ahead, Suchesna. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just suggesting that, that's a great idea. Also, I was trying to see if there is ISU Instagram channel and if we can contribute to that. So this could be another idea where ISU can have its own Instagram and then we all can post our videos there, or all the videos that we send you could post in there too. So that would be
That's a great idea. I mean, I know nothing about Instagram. I mean, zero. I mean, I am an old guy. I totally get it. I had Twitter in 2007 and Facebook in 2007, and I totally junked them in 2015 when I started going after, my PhD. I just knew I didn't have time for them. And then they turned into this crazy sounding board for, echo chamber kind of thing. So I'm just so glad I'm not involved with them. But I do stick with LinkedIn just because it's got the professional side of it. But I know that that's limiting me in terms of the marketability and all that kind of crap. But ISU does have a LinkedIn channel or a Instagram channel. And now I'm going to search frantically for that QR code because it's got the Instagram code is on that graphic I've got. So I'm going to find that graphic.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it. It has like 10,000 followers right now. Yes.
Is that good? Is that a lot?
Yeah, I mean, 10,000 is good, but we also have, I think, a lot more people, right, in our alumni network and all the community. So probably those who are on Instagram can also join in, and sort of it's just a marketing strategy. So I'm into brands and marketing. I myself did humans in space branding. So in a couple months, there were like 3,000 followers. We were doing events and all that. So I get this all ideas, but definitely I'm in support of ISU. I loved it. I had a great experience and it definitely benefits me. I'm looking for more partnerships with ISU as well with my company right now. So yeah, all in support.
Okay, no, that's a great idea. And I'll be meeting with the marketing folks tomorrow, and I can mention it to Geraldine and see. I'm sure she'll be okay with it. And it's an open page, right? So any follower can post on it, right?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so man, this is the idea. Post to Instagram, and so all I need is the Instagram handle, which is probably at ISU-NET or something. But I can find it.
if you go to the ISU main web page, just scroll all the way down, and you will have all the links to the social media channels.
In fact, again, that's and I use that set of links primarily as my as the information for the link page that I created. So it should be the same set of links once. And I'm frantically working to get my page up. I'll put it behind me in a second here. I just need to get the 16:9 kind of format here. I got it in the wrong way. Anyway, that's a great idea, Suchesna. That's great. How long have you been in the Johnson area?
It's been 10 years now.
Wow, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So let me take that. Okay, I'm gonna.
And Kate, could you please share the poster link that you said you're making poster from in the chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here, let me save it as a JPEG, because then I'm sure, hold on a second, save. Now I'm about to virtual back. It's a graphic that I have, that it's not like it's available on the web or anything yet. So here's the top of it. And I don't know if you can scan the QR code there from behind me right off the screen, but here, let me try it, see if it'll work. Yeah, try scanning the QR code right off the screen, especially if I'm in full page. Is it working? I don't know if it's going to work.
It's working.
It is working.
Got
Okay,
it.
that's it. That's the link page right there. So folks can just scan this URL, and that'll give you the link page. They'll direct you to the link page, and now you've got just buttons that'll take you to different places in the ISU web, presence. So yeah, and it was so funny. I had it created using MailChimp, but the QR code was created with Beacon Stack, and so it's like a combination of a bunch of different things. I don't know if MailChimp does QR codes or not. I could use their thing if they do, but so anyhow, so that's kind of the whole thing right there. So that's a good idea. And if I do get that, again, I would even show you the graphic, but if I can't, maybe I can show it to you here. I can show you the graphic of the banner. Let me pull it there, and I'll do a share screen here. Share screen.
Maybe I can interrupt shortly on your
Sure.
QR code feedback, because I couldn't scan it in my screen. It's very, very small.
Okay. Yeah.
Just maybe it's too small depending on which devices people are using. So now it might work, but in your presentation or video screen, I can't scan it.
No problem. It depends on a bunch of stuff. Like I said, this is supposed to be printed on a banner, and here you see the banner. Yeah. But this is kind of the format, and I'll go back to full scale so you can see it's got the whole list of years, the countries, and the locations. In the middle, I show the MSS kind of classes up to 29. This is the 29th year coming up, I guess. And then the executive space courses, I've got to fill that one in still yet. I don't know how many executive space courses there were prior to 2019. But I do know that the first one was back in 2003. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going with this banner. And this is the format. This is the aspect ratio of the eSigns banner. And Suchesna, I don't know if you've ever heard of eSigns.com, but I swear by them. I mean, the fact you can get a banner, you take a graphic design, you can have a banner printed and delivered within a week, to your location, at least again, here in the North America, comes out of Michigan, I think. And it's not expensive. So it's really kind of interesting from that perspective. And so let's see, anything else I can tell you about upcoming SSP 23 in Brazil is moving along, getting contracts signed, and everything seems to be going well there. There's been a bunch of political unrest in Brazil. Hey, we in the US here, we're used to that kind of stuff. We didn't end up having to fire.
Well, I hope you're not getting used to it, Ken.
We've been through it before, I should say.
Right.
It's no fun, and I know that they're not. And kind of the wild part is that SSP 23 is held on a military base in Brazil, in São José dos Campos. ITA and INPE, which are the two organizations we're working with, they're co-located on this military base. And so you go through a checkpoint coming in. When we were down there in November, all the Bolsonaro supporters were camped out front, draped in the flag. Of course, it was World Cup time as well, so everybody was kind of the flag was doing double duty there. But yeah, I don't know what the situation is now, but it should be fine, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed. kind of wild. But so that's going well. We're hoping this week to get a letter from the accreditation organization on the review of the MSS program. And I swear, I probably said this 2 months ago. Prior to this, there was they had an on-site visit by the accreditation organization, I think in November. And prior to that November visit, and this is the first in-person visit that ISU has had with the accreditation organization because of the pandemic. And Juan, if I'm saying anything out of school, or if I'm misrepresenting anything, you tell me. These are the facts as I understand them. I was not, I was skeptical, I would say, prior to that November visit. After the November visit, everybody was like, oh my God, that went well. They talked to a bunch of students. The students were super impressive, and the accreditation people were uber impressed, because they were very skeptical that you could teach engineering to a lawyer, or you could teach life sciences to a business major. And so they spoke with a couple of the students, and they couldn't believe the quality of the interactions that they were having. They were saying, are you guys did you prepare for this discussion? And the students were saying, no, I mean, we kind of just responded to a request to show up and to talk to you guys, and we're just the people who were around. And so the accreditation organization was pretty impressed. So this week we're supposed to get kind of the written report based on that visit, and what are the things that still need to be done. And everybody's kind of super optimistic. There might be a couple things that need to happen, but Pascal has done an incredible job of aligning the curriculum to these 3 themes. She's restructured a little bit the masters to make it more in compliance with what the accreditation folks were interested in seeing. So it's going to take some organizational change on ISU's part, and the MSS team is working through that right now. But it's a lot of there's a lot of positive signs coming out. So we're going to know more this week as to what the actual final loose ends are that we need to tie up. But we'll have a really good idea by next week, hopefully, of where we stand and how imminent the accreditation is. So we're kind of excited about that. I see that we've got Aaron asked, is there any info on when we will hear back about proposed workshop activities? So you're talking, I don't know. And you must be interested in the robotics workshop activity. I imagine that's going to be there. I don't know. Everybody being Goktuk and James Lewis. James Lewis is the guy from NASA Johnson who was seconded to ISU to help co-direct the SSP and the SHSSP programs. They're down in Australia right now, and they're kind of, it's just really those 2 people are the keeper. Well, it's Goktuk really. James is just starting. They're doing all the workings. So Mathieu, which is the academic coordinator, and Tanya are back in Strasbourg. And so I suppose I could check in with them to see what their response is to that. But I haven't heard anything. Not that I would have necessarily. I don't necessarily poke down into the academic scheduling, but I'm going to write a question here for me to ask Mathieu. Mathieu.
Cool. Thanks.
No problem, Aaron. I think it's important. What about the schedule for proposed workshop activities? Okay. Got it. Perfect. Other question. Oh, Suchesna asks, who shall we connect if we're interested in teaching at this SHSSP is happening now. So, that's a little bit, we're talking next year for that, or SSP to carry out a session in program. So there was a call for programming for lecturers and all that sort of stuff that happened in the past. I don't know if it's entirely closed out, but to be honest with you, I've gotten those in the past and I sort of kind of ignore them, but I don't ignore them, but I just don't really act to them because my situation before was I wasn't necessarily going to be able to go and teach. I would say for folks who do have that flexibility in their schedule and do have those plans in their bucket list, I would say don't ignore those emails when they come out. So they tend to come out earlier in the year. let me put an asterisk about that. I could be totally wrong. They could be due next week, as far as I know. So check your email. Juan, do you have any better information on that?
No, not better than yours.
Yeah, so I would say check your email. I've seen it before. I can't be 100% sure that it's even really gone out yet, but I have seen them in the past. And I don't know if you've seen them in the past or not, but they're kind of hard to miss, but in the same token, they're easy to ignore. So maybe that could be a link, maybe I can add that to the link page here. If you want to be a SSP lecturer, click here, deadline this date, and then that way it'd be easy to find. So I'll look into doing that. That should be easy to do. SSP lecturer link on link page. Okay, great. I love this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Justin, hey, you want to give us a impromptu update on what's going on with ISU USA alumni folks?
Sure, yeah. Angela and I met yesterday. We discussed the Christmas party that we had a couple weeks ago in conjunction with the Space Generation Advisory Council. That was a huge success. Yeah, we had it in the clubhouse of my building, actually. And yeah, we had about 20 people come and everybody brought something to eat. Yeah, we hung out and talked about space policy and Venus and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, we've got a co-working space that is in Roslyn, where we're going to have a speaker come in a couple of weeks. We haven't actually nailed down who the speaker is yet. We asked a couple of people, but they were busy. I'm hoping to finalize that with Angela this afternoon. She had a couple of people in mind she's going to reach out to. She was busy, I guess, last week because she just closed on a house or a cabin.
Good for her. Oh, that's right. Her cabin in West Virginia.
Yeah, and yeah, you were at the event earlier this month where we had the ESA ministerials presenters from TLR and the French embassy and the Italian attaché. That was another, yeah, successful event, I felt like. Yeah, people enjoyed the pizza, and yeah, it's just a nice area or a nice office anyhow. I think we might be there again in March, just because, yeah, the person who runs that space, yeah, although he wasn't there this time, is looking forward to future events, and I told him we'd try and bring an astronaut in. So yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that
need to ask Charlie Bolden or somebody to come in and yeah, give us a short presentation or something.
Nice. No, that's great. And I apologize for missing yesterday's meeting, and this will give me a chance to talk about what I did yesterday. But I was in New York. And let me get out of the way here. My background shows where I was. This is Roosevelt Island, which is right off the east coast of Manhattan Island. There's a thin sliver of land called Roosevelt Island, named after FDR. And this is Cornell has set up an innovation campus there called Cornell Tech. And this is in the main building looking eastward toward, I guess, what is that, the Bronx and or Brooklyn? I don't even know. I should know my New York, but it's a modern facility. It was built in the last couple of years, well, since Bloomberg was mayor. This is in the Bloomberg building. Off this way, this is the Tata Innovation Building, and over here, this is like an Innovation Conference Center building. Between these three buildings, they've got modern, sufficient facilities to hold a summer program. Farther down this way, there's a hotel right on campus that has 160 rooms. So we could pretty much put all the staff and participants in that hotel right there. And they'd have basically the run of these three buildings and this campus. And there's actually even another, they're on 3 years from now, there'll probably be another building or two that they're building just south of these buildings. So it's kind of exciting to look at New York City as a potential host site for SSP. The problem of the site, of course, not everything is roses, The problem of this site, of course, is what? I mean, it's great location, 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 but it's going to be high cost. So we're going to have to figure out how to do that. So I was meeting with an ISU alumni from New York area. His name's Ian Fitchenbaum, but actually he's from Montreal. And but he's living in New York now, and he's got connections with a bunch of folks there. And there's some really good, we've got some really strong alumni in New York area, in Cornell, in the university itself. Lisa Kaltenegger is kind of the name that comes to mind. And you know, we hopefully will be able to take advantage of that. I mean, it's going to be cost at this point. And so my trip up there yesterday was just to see if the facilities would be sufficient. I'm not exactly 100% sure why, but I 100% know they're motivated to hold the summer program there. So that would be really, really interesting. I think we've got a real good, hopefully we can turn it into a reality. Because having this program in New York City would be freaking phenomenal. You're one metro stop, you get on the F train, you go one metro stop, you're back on the main island, right? So you're right there. There's also a funiculaire, basically a cable car that goes from Roosevelt Island over to 60th Street, right across the river. So you can go by air or underground. Also, right across the street, or right across the river from the island, is the United freaking Nations. I mean, you can imagine having the opening ceremony in the United Nations, which would be, this would be phenomenal. So there's a lot of good parts of this that would make it super desirable. And Cornell is very, very interested in it. So, so anyways, that's what I was doing. So that's why I missed your meeting yesterday, Justin. I apologize for that. So, okay, so Juan was sending some information to Suchesna. That's great. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yeah, I would have a question to you, Ken, if you don't mind.
Go.
Can you update us on your beautiful initiative of an ISU short course?
Absolutely. So I've been kicking around this idea of a crash course. So
Crash course.
Yeah, in a lot of, it's funny. I've got CC crash course. I've got a CC, a DD, an EE, and an FF variant of this course. CC is crash course, where it's a 5-day course. It's, you know, I've never attended an executive space course. I think in a lot of ways it's similar to an executive space course. I think the word executive in the title is a marketing tool to attract a certain audience. The crash course, for all I know, could be exactly the same as an executive space course, but it's called a crash course. It's 5 days, 7 departments, 1 lecturer per department. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these would be 3 full days of lectures, 1 hour for each of the departments. On day 1, you talk about the past of your department. Day 2, you talk to the present of your department, and day 3 would talk about the future of your department. So if it's space sciences, you could talk about space science history, then what's going on today and what the plans are for tomorrow. So you have 3 hours of lectures to talk about the 3 temporal timeframes of your department. On day 1, Monday, each department will have half an hour to give an overview. So there's actually 3.5 hours per department of lectures. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be grueling days. We're talking about academic hours, so 48 to 50 minutes of lectures and 10-minute break between. So there'd be a coffee and tea for break time, but the rest of the time is lectures from 9 to 5 with an hour for lunch. Monday, you'd have, in the morning, you'd have like welcoming presentations, overview of ISU, overview of whatever the host organization is, and maybe even a special lecture about the host or institution. And then in the evenings, you'd have 1 public event, let's say on Monday, where people could come and hear about space and whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and these days are totally flexible. But the other 3 days, you'd have like interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary kind of discussions to build on the departmental stuff that was going on. Friday morning, ask me anything in the morning, and then go with a ceremonial luncheon and claim victory and send everybody home by early afternoon. There have been suggestions potentially of having another public event going into high schools or something like that in the Friday afternoon for folks who want to stay and participate. So that's always a good idea. Sunday night would be a welcoming reception. I'm kind of targeting, I want to get classrooms of 30, not onesie twosies. I want to get 30 people from Boeing. I want to get 30 people from the oil industry. I want to get, in a room so that they buy 30 tickets at a time. And so we can address individual industries or, individual sectors like that, or Boeing. The aerospace companies right now are hiring a lot of people, and they will not stop talking about the workforce shortage and all this sort of stuff coming up in the future. So what this means is they're hiring a bunch of new people, some of which know about space, some of which don't know about space. So this puts everybody in 1 week, could put everybody on an equal ground. And so we'll see how that goes. That's kind of the overall plan. That's the CC crash course flavor. DD, and this is where it all started, was diversity development. This was trying to take these, not instead of selling 30 seats at a time to an individual organization, go to an HBCU or another historically Black college or university or a minority serving institution and say, listen, we'll give you 4 seats in exchange for use of your facilities for a week. We'll get other attendees from the traditional aerospace world, have them come here, go through the same program, the exact same program I just described. But now at the end of 5 days, everybody goes back to their workplaces, and hopefully there'll be good reports by the traditional aerospace attendees that, hey, I sat and worked with these folks from this HBCU, let's hire them. They'd be good for this, or they'd be good for that. So hopefully it would turn into employment opportunities for folks who don't have a space curriculum at their school, that would help to build the diversity of the aerospace sector. So that's the DD, the diversity development flavor. EE this would be this space sector, in Espanol. This is where Spanish speaking would be good. And so this is where we're trying to reach South America as well as Central America, and going in Espanol would, I think, be a fantastic way to do that. So I'm looking for lecturers that can lecture in Espanol. And then FF is the focused, what is it called? Focused follow-up. This is where, let's say I go to the oil industry, or let's say I go to the HBCU and we give a class. Now they've been exposed to all 7 departments. They might say, hey, listen, we want to learn more about policy and law, or we want to learn more about business and management or satellite applications. Now you can go back with a fixed focus. And now you can do the same sort of format, just now populate it with more workshops, more application-oriented things that are focused at that sector. So between the CC, DD, EE, and FF flavors, I think we've got a nice little, so this is all talk right now. Right now, this is all talk. I'm having a meeting right after this call with actually an organization called ISA, it's Equity Space Alliance. It's current and former NASA employees that are African-American, that are working toward equity and more representation. And basically, I'm talking to them about basically going out and finding people to sit in these seats and basically be the headhunters to fill the seats, so that we could put on the show, and then they would get a finder's fee. And whether they use that finder's fee to pass it back to the minority serving institution as sort of equity sort of thing, or whatever it is, we're working this into the business model. So that's part of the DD flavor of the crash course concept. So that's going on. So again, the idea of finding a headhunter, not a headhunter, but somebody has, like, for example, Midland, Texas has a spaceport. Called Midland Air and Spaceport. Midland, Texas, for those who don't know, is kind of the oil area of the United States, right? That's Suchesna, you probably know. We're down there at the western part of the state. And this is where a lot of the oil was coming from. And the oil industry is there big time, and they're always there, and there's derricks everywhere, and there's flames going on, and they're pumping liquid, black gold out of the ground. They've got this spaceport that the economic development group is trying to promote, and the oil folks don't know about space. It's scary, but the economic development folks who are in charge of the spaceport, they are not even necessarily all that up on space. So, and I'm convinced that we can cogitate all we want to try to come up with great ideas of how Midland could grow and all this sort of stuff. I'm betting $1 to a donut the great ideas are going to come from the oil industry folks. So giving them the space back context to work with would, I think, increase the number of great ideas they could use to help the economic development organization take advantage of the fact that they've got this, licensed spaceport right there. So anyways, I'm working with somebody who has been working with the Midland folks, who knows the oil industry folks, and we're going to try to get tied in there. I mean, I was even considering taking out a print ad in the newspaper there and on their webpage to say, hey, let's have a ISU course here, And so I'm this far away from doing that kind of thing. Let me say hello to Jim Bryce.
Yes.
Hey, Jim.
I can.
Hello, Jim.
Hi, Juan. It's nice to see you. My video. I'm also attending a mandatory safety day presentation at Blue, so I've kind of got both streaming at the moment.
No problem. We're just chatting.
I wanted to see and hear you, Ken. Very happy you're in your position and look forward to when you come visit the Space Coast again.
Oh, I should do.
And anyone else who's listening in, I'm happy to host.
Great, James. Jim, great to hear you. You never change.
Very good.
So I'll be down. SpaceCom is going on in a couple weeks in Florida, so I'll be down there for that. And I think I'll be heading down to Fort Lauderdale again pretty soon. So maybe there is an opportunity to get together.
Bring Gretchen. Florida's
well, that's the hard part. Yeah. She's coming with, so I should tell everybody on the call, there's an upcoming ISU board meeting. For some reason, we're having it 4 months after the last one, so the last one was in October. This one's coming up in February. So we're going to be, everybody's going to be getting together in February to talk about the latest and greatest things going on in ISU, even though not too much has really changed that much since October. But I only bring that up because Gretchen is coming with me on that one. So those are the
where is the board happening?
It'll be in Strasbourg at Central Campus.
Okay.
So that'll be good. Just as one of our board members, Brian Rishkoff, who some of you might know, just went through a hip replacement. So on January 13th, he had his.
That's why I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, that's his THR. So he was the only reason he told me, and don't tell him I told you. For all I know, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care. But I had my hip replaced about 8 years ago, and so I remember talking about how fun it was, and it's painful, but that's what drugs are for, and you just got to be good with your physical therapy, and so hopefully he comes out of it pretty well. I told, like with me, within 4 weeks I was at 10,000 steps. Granted, it was with a cane, but I was with 10,000 steps and I was traveling. So knock wood that Brian has a speedy recovery as well. So Brian will be there. Chris Salaberger will be there, and a whole bunch of other folks. Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm going to report on the New York thing that I talked about. And Jim, I just went to New York yesterday looking at a site for one of the summer programs on Roosevelt Island in New York. So that
really? Wow.
Yeah. So it'll be expensive. That's the problem. So, but location.
What a hit. When I was working out of Dulles, Virginia, I always thought it'd be nice to have one in Washington, D.C. I know Ian and Peggy had thought to try to get one at either George Mason or American University. This was a long time ago, but I think one in Washington, D.C. would be.
Ooh, I had not even thought of that for some reason. I had not even thought of that,
I don't know if Ian and Peggy are still at George Mason. I haven't talked to them.
I haven't heard from either of them. I mean, Peggy, of course, was the first vice president for North American operations for ISU.
Yeah.
But I have not heard from her for quite a while. So let me ask Justin. Justin, what do you think about a ISU summer program in DC?
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. We've got a lot of, aerospace companies around here for sure, right? All of the major defense companies are here.
Well, and there's NASA Goddard. So you've got a major NASA facility. Actually, the best.
Blue Origin's got a new office in Reston.
We do. We have two now. We have one in Reston that I've been to and helped open, and we have our government center office in Alexandria, which is very small. So, but I think Washington D.C. somewhere would be just a real a barn burner of a summer session.
Yeah, Aerospace Corporation's got a big office. There's two NASA centers basically, right? You've got headquarters and you've got Greenbelt.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you've got all the Smithsonian's for people to attend and go to on the weekends, and yeah, DC's a really good location.
Well, Smithsonian, more than half of the Smithsonian is research, and the Air and Space has one of the world's leading research areas, planetary research areas. So Ken knows that.
And for those who don't know, Jim was, for all I know, still registered as a docent to the National Air and Space Museum. He gave us great tours out at Udvar-Hazy more than once.
Yeah, it's a wonderful organization. So anyway, put that plug in.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
you can't always go just see the space shuttle and the Enola Gay and
Yeah, no, gotta take that dose.
Concorde, and yeah, that's a really amazing museum.
It's kind
So
of amazing. Well, but I mean, the other, but you bring up some good points, at least make me think of some things, Justin, where, you know, ideally we'd have this on kind of a college campusy kind of thing, you know. I mean, you don't necessarily want to be going to a conference room at aerospace. They do have great facilities, and Lockheed Martin has some great facilities out there, right? So those would absolutely be visits and departmental things and stuff like that. I don't know what the chances would be of doing it at a George Mason or a George Washington, or
Well, Pascal has inroads at GW.
a little bit, yeah. So
Like she's still on faculty there, so
she is.
might be a good one.
She's got a
Yeah.
shared office these days. She doesn't have her own office, but yeah, definitely, she's definitely there. And in fact, you know, we're kind of looking at, you know, so one of the things that I got hired to do, and so let me back up a second. When in the past, vice presidents of North American operations have been people that have basically been charged with finding money and funneling it to Strasbourg, you know, trying to, you know, get participants and support from US organizations and funnel it. And I told, you know, when Pascal was pursuing me, you know, I was saying, you know, I'm really not a fundraising kind of guy. I know people kind of see me as a car salesman, but I really don't do this full time, you know, and I don't have the necessary connections or the savvy of how that happens. But I'd be more than happy to contribute and do what I can. But, you know, to make that the thing that I do is, and which was a major component of the previous, you know, Gary Martin and Steve Brody and Peggy Finarelli, this is what they were supposed to do. So feeding the beast back in Strasbourg is kind of what I do as a, you know, part-time, but, you know, my primary things are set up a US organization, try to get a summer program here in the United States. And so, you know, this is kind of, or in North America, you know, and I don't want to, I'm absolutely very interested in hitting Canada because they had an incredible alumni network until semi-recently. And so we want to see if it's possible to reinvigorate that, and also start looking south and going into, you know, Central America and even into South America. And so, you know, it just takes a little bit of time. And this is kind of where I've been focused. And so this is where the idea of the crash course, and, you know, Jim, you missed the whole shtick about space sector crash course and diversity development and Espanol and focused follow-up. These are different flavors of a program, a 5-day program that would help, that we could do in North America, that would help A, generate revenue to pay for operating expenses of a North American office. B, as surpluses would then go to pay for research activities, because one of the things I wanted to do is put you back in ISU. I want to focus on academically rigorous research and focus on the university part of ISU. A lot of the programs tend to be professional development, which is absolutely great. And we want to work toward actually getting accreditation as a professional development, continuing education curriculum provider. And so that's one of the other things I'd really like to do over time, but it costs money and it takes time. But once we can get accredited for continuing education, now you go on to the approved list at the Department of Education in the United States. And now it makes it easier then for other government agencies to participate in the kind of programming that we could offer, because it's not just NASA that's interested in this. And then fine, it's not even just the Space Force and, you know, the military programs, but it's also Department of Education. There's a major move by the Office of Science and Technology Policy right now for commercial space education, you know, providers. They came out with a report talking about, you know, all these different goals that these different organizations need to have. The Department of Transportation, and not just the FAA. Within the FAA, we focused on the Office of Commercial Space Transportation, but the AST's budget is 30 million. You look at, and out of the 20 billion of the entire FAA, the air traffic organization and the aviation safety folks, which do certifications, and the airports folks all have activities and are putting people into commercial space activities. in addition to, and pretty much separate from, what the Office of Commercial Space is doing. So to get one person out of AST to come to SSP is great, but I want to get 2 people from ATO and 2 people from AVS and another person or 2 from airports to come and represent FAA at the Space Studies program. So we're looking at doing that.
So Ken,
yeah,
yeah, you know what the future of commercial space is, at least in the United States.
tell me.
Billionaires.
For now, that's right.
And I was surprised when I visited the summer session last summer in Lisbon. I thought I would be the only Blue Origin person there and visiting as an alum. I was rather surprised. Not only was there at least one faculty member, Todd Mosier, but there were at least 2 students paid for by Blue, which I hadn't heard of before. So I'm still investigating how they did that. I don't know what department paid for that, but that's a great in. And we've just started a chat room here at Blue for ISU folks. So I'm still trying to garner or get a sense of how many alums there are here within the company, but there are a number. That's
fantastic. And it's great to see the support. I think what you mentioned is really important, is that it kind of boils down to the mid-manager level to make those decisions, right? They might have top cover by the big boss saying, oh, I love this, but it's kind of the mid-managers that end up making those decisions. And so this is why I want to put an ad in like NASA Watch to try to target all the lower and mid-level managers at NASA, because just because I get Alex McDonald or somebody at NASA headquarters to say ISU is great, that's not going to filter down, and it's the people that control the budgets at lower levels that are going to make that decision. So I think that's an important point too. Yeah. Listen, we've got about 10 minutes because I do have a call at 1 o'clock, but let me let other people talk because I tend to talk way too much about this.
And a suggestion, you know, I'm so focused on my job that I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world with space development. Even in the US, I'm a little fuzzy. Would love to have an ISU sponsored class for alums to refresh once a year or something like that on commercial and government activities. You know, now that we have streaming, you know, having a class for alums to get caught up, to me, is something that I would like to see. It would help me in my job.
No, I appreciate that. And so maybe what we could do, and I've gotten this comment from other choice folks, is instead of just having this be a free-for-all discussion, you know, maybe have a small component that's actually programmed, where we would have somebody come in and talk about current governmental activities or commercial activities. The problem I ran into about a decade ago was so much stuff is happening, it's impossible to keep up, right? And if you try to put it all together and then present it, number one, it takes a long time because there's so much going on, but B, it's out of date, you know, by the following week. But I do like trying to get small snapshots of segments that could be
maybe by regions, or I would love to know what's going on in China.
Yeah,
you know, there's so much going on. I just can't keep track of it all. You're like you said, it changes so much.
It changes so much, and this is why, you know, like, this is where YouTube comes in. I would recommend a YouTube channel called Starbase Pink, which is this guy who puts out a 3-minute video about once every other day, but he shows you footage from the Chinese space station. He shows you all the rocket launches going on. He shows you sometimes the rover stuff on Mars. You know, whatever's going on, he kind of follows it, and he's got a couple favorite companies.
There's another suggestion. Perhaps ISU could host a web page that has resources on it that people could go to. So we all know we can go to this ISU web page, and they will have resources that we can access.
That's a great point. And let me repost a link that I put in, that I showed everybody before, and when you weren't on, Jim, so it won't be in your chat, but there it is. I created a link page where you go to this page, and it's just a bunch of buttons where it takes you to certain links. And we could I could add links to it, and this would be good, you know, a resources page where it says, you know, find out about this, that, and the other thing. Then I could add that to that link page.
Excellent.
So, yeah,
excellent.
That's a great idea.
One more point. And this goes directly to your job, and I'm so happy to see you in your job. You're a breath of fresh air. Not that the others weren't good, you know, but you're a breath of fresh air. So let me tell you a story. You know, when you come to Blue, you have to do this whole presentation of your work. And I made a big deal out of my attending the International Space University, and I had worked there. you know, and I was presenting to 4 senior managers, engineering managers. They had never heard of it. I was stunned. They had never heard of it. And I talked to students. I'm getting heavily involved now with the University of Central Florida, my alma mater up the street, and I'm the Blue Origin designee to the Teens Advisory Board. And so I'm hosting a lot of students here, a lot of engineering students, and I mention it every time. Rarely does one student say, "Oh, I've heard of it." So I think you know, advertising. You know, you remember the old Rick Tomlinson videos that used to come out that Todd had made, and I remember the one that they did on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise with Marina Sirtis.
Right.
You need something like that desperately to advertise ISU in the US.
Perfect. Suchesna's got her hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to second on that about the alumni network. What I think is we could make it stronger, and in any way, like there are a lot of people, like I would like to help, and if there are some more people, because obviously you can't do everything, and if you need help, I'm there, or somebody else wants to help, they can be there. So if we can create this kind of group together, then I think alumni itself is a huge power for us. We can cross connect. So for example, right now I'm doing my startup. Definitely it's going to come with the research students and all humans in space. Then I would be like, okay, Mr. James is there and he wants to contribute his knowledge or something like that. And that way, if kind of we leverage the talents and the where the people are in different position, different like the human power, then we can make it stronger, and probably it can generate revenue for some startups or some companies by themselves. And that could ultimately some part can come back to ISU as, hey, this happened because of the alumni network, and we would like. So there's a fundraising strategy as well. So I'm good in fundraising. So if anytime like you need help with, and this also goes on with the marketing, as right now James said that his colleagues did not know about it. So if we can kind of carry out a campaign for people, alumni, who can just tell in their networks or something of that sort could be designed, that would also that could bring back money back to ISU as well.
I appreciate that. Let me contact you afterwards, because a lot of the things you're talking about, we've kind of thought about a little bit. I think you're just like probably like you're ahead of where we are, but you know, like for example, list of prominent alumni has always been, you know, like, so fine, how great is your network? You know, we actually have a good list of what we thought was just high profile people, but you know, maybe somebody vetting that and presenting it in the proper way could really, you know, have positive returns for ISU, and like you said, for the network folks in general. I'll also mention something, or I'll reinforce something that Jim said. Pascal Ehrenfreund recently joined the governing board, or the board of trustees for Space Foundation. So she was at their board meeting, and so at the meeting she said, so I'm the president of ISU. Who here has heard of ISU? These are board members for the Space Foundation. Guess how many hands were held up? 0. So I think that
Something's very wrong. Something's very wrong.
Right. So we got to do some advertising, and so we'll see what happens there. So that just reinforces that point. Listen, there's 3 minutes before I've got to meet with these Equity Space Alliance folks to talk about my diversity development idea, part of Crash Course. Does anybody have any last minute comments? I really, really, really appreciate you guys being here. Any last words? Juan.
Greetings from Barcelona. If anyone comes to Europe or to this particular region, let me know. I will entertain you with pleasure.
Okay,
thanks,
send your contact info. It's on my agenda. Barcelona is always on the agenda.
Good. Thank you very much, Ken, for all the energy and the intelligence you're bringing on board.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah, Justin, any last words?
I'm surprised no one on Space Foundation knew about us.
I might have over-exaggerated. There might have been 1 or 2 hands up, but out of the 24 people, there weren't many.
Okay.
Yeah, Shelley Brunswick attended the executive space course.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the non-SF people that didn't know. Who knows? But okay. Aaron, last words.
In terms of Canada space news, there's going to be more legislations allowing anyone to launch from Canada, and they have started more work on the spaceport in Nova Scotia.
I saw that. I was
Yeah.
very excited about that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Suchesna?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this really created a kind of a vibe that we could do something, give something back to our institute. And I would say I'm in Houston, so anybody around here comes up, I would love to catch up and entertain as well. So next, I would like to mention that there's a spaceport in Houston building up. So, and the oil wells that you're talking about, the oil companies, I went in that area as well. And there's a
Oh, great.
huge potential that you're talking
Perfect.
better. Yeah.
Pascal?
Yeah, thanks for organizing again, Ken. I really appreciated it. And I'd actually like to hear in that framework again. It's good to get all these background informations you normally don't get if you're just
That's why it's here.
listening to social media. But for alumni, I think it's a good idea to stay in touch and how to actually support ISU further.
Thank you very much. Well, spread the word for the next one. Next one will probably be in 2 months. Jim, last word.
Yeah, we used to joke that ISU was the biggest room and board organization in the world. You could go to any city and have a place to crash. That's true here on the Space Coast. My home is within 12 miles of every launch pad. So great views. So if anyone comes, I have a guest room and it's yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your time. I apologize I have to run. I'm already late, but that's okay. Thank you very much. See you guys later. Bye-bye.